Collective, welcome to this channel. And if you're a regular visitor of this channel, I really appreciate you being here. So today I'm going to read something that's very, very different, and it also relates to a few stories that I'm about to tell you. And this is not to frighten anyone, but it is to be aware of that karmic laws do really play out, and it gets recorded. So all throughout your life, I mentioned it so many times that your light is so bright, unknowingly you attract a lot of people. And your reaction, I've mentioned before as well, that you can get different reactions. Some can be very magnetic, and some can be very, very negative and very downright uncomfortable. So as a collective with a bright light and high frequency, and sometimes you can have a low fluctuation of frequency as well, depending on how you manage your energy, you're bound to come up with a lot of issues or challenges that you can face when you interact with people. So, especially at work, I'm about to give you some stories about work, but especially at work, people will throw you under the bus. Know that what they're trying to do is that they're trying to set you up to fail, because they're under the influence of a negative entity, and some call it demonic, or they've got issues themselves, so they're very, very attracted to certain negative entities. Know that the more they set you up, the more karmic debts they're going to clock up. There's nothing you need to do except to be your authentic self and vibe at a high level. Now, I mentioned it a few times in the readings, is how you're going to high vibe is to get in touch with your higher self, and you can do that through meditation or different types of holistic approach, and to communicate telepathically to that person's higher self. There's no need to do anything else. There's no malice against that person. There's lots of love that you need to send through to that person with forgiveness. Or if you have trouble at that time in sending out love because you may be upset, then the best thing to do is just to keep focusing on spirit to give you some guidance and help. And just make sure you give that person the respect as well for why they're doing this. As much as sometimes they might be still picking on you, they might be just deliberately doing things that is underhanded and acting out in a toxic way. So the more they do this, the more the karmic debt is going to clock up without them even noticing. Everything gets recorded energetically in this world, and nothing gets unnoticed. So if you do good, you're going to be rewarded. And if you do bad, the karmic repercussions is going to ripple its effect, and it could also play out and affecting your family lineage and your ancestors and your descendants and even your immediate family. And also it's definitely going to affect the person's health. So I mentioned also the importance of what the physiological effect it may have when you also have some issues, but that's another story that's slightly different. All I'm saying is that if you have a negative karmic action against somebody, there's going to be repercussions somehow playing out in different ways. So the more this is playing out, you also need to understand or be aware that you are co-creating with the other person for whatever reason. And your lessons might be very different to say that person that's playing this out for you. So say, for instance, your boss is throwing you under the bus constantly at you and treating you unfairly. And you're being stressed out, but you are still hanging on to this. And maybe you hung on to this job for a long time because you're scared to go somewhere else. So the spirit is getting you to collaborate with that other person for different reasons. There's an energetic discord that's happening. So your issue is that you've been hanging on to this job for so long that you're not enjoying it, but you're still hanging on to it for whatever other reasons. So you stick to that job, but you are just taking, SHIT from that person. So you've got low self-worth of what you're capable of doing. So, and then the other person's just keep constantly bringing you down because they need your light. So for other reasons, they cannot get light from anywhere else and this energy. So they play this out by bringing you down so that they can feel better. So there's two lessons involved. And spirit is always going to put you through to these kind of lessons. And my previous readings that I've done, that your success and your spiritual path is always going to have lots and lots of challenges. And to get through to evolve in a way and complete your mission on earth is to co-create with these people. And unfortunately, yes, there's going to be lots of pain that we have to face. And we might have family members that don't treat us well, people that just put us down. But at the same time, it's for us to learn a lesson that we're lacking something that we need. And that person's bringing up a mirror in us, as much as we also sometimes, we do bring the mirror out of the other people. When I mentioned about the energetic signatures, we are acting as a mirror against each other. So the other person's also putting a mirror against you for you to see what your issue is. I will bring up in the next few readings the different types of energies. I talked about the map of consciousness and the different energetic levels. And the faster you recognize the levels, the better off you're going to be, because you can navigate through life knowing exactly where you're at and what the other person's at and how you're integrating with the person. It's like dialing into a different frequency each time you recognize where you're at. So the reaction from the other person is, in that way, is for them to pay out their karmic lessons, and you are responding in your way. So there's a reason, if you are been staying in this job for a long time, why you haven't moved yet. Maybe it's divine timing, is when you've absolutely had enough and tower moments happen. Tower moments can be that it's a divine intervention. So the spirit is going to just cut in and intervene and cause you to learn something. So it might be, sometimes it could be you're getting fired, or you found somewhere else, or you fall ill and you're forced to leave that particular position or that situation or that environment. So I'm going to let you know 3 stories that has happened in my past, and this is in no way scaring anybody, but it's to do with how karma played out. And all these 3 stories is something that I suffered, but I did not have anything malice against that other person. And what happened to them as a karmic repercussion can be very frightening. So many years ago, I worked with a tourism position, and I was the junior in that little group. And my boss used to love practicing her control over people, and it was quite materialistic, and she was very, very, what do you call it? She loved just going out and, meet people, and she liked to be single, but nothing against any of that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with how she's been doing her own, working her own life. But she used to drink a lot, and she's quite toxic. But the toxic part and behavior is the way she wants to control, even her staff. So I was the target, and she was constantly just giving remarks and gaslit me to saying that, I'm not good enough to do this and that, and you never get anywhere in this position. And that went constantly, going. And she didn't realize the repercussions, and I didn't realize that either. And I just, at that time, I was always upset and talking about her, but I never really wished her anything bad. Now, within 2 weeks after she had really had a go at me, I think there was an divine intervention, and something really serious and scary happened that I don't wish it upon anyone. What happened is that her father lives in a farm, and they've got ducks. So they've got ducks flying everywhere, and one time there were some wild ducks flying over their field. So the father came out with a rifle, because they've got rifles for whatever reason. I'm not sure why they had a rifle, because Australia is not really, I live in Australia, and it's not really a place where, not like America, where we can have guns and things like that. So she had a rifle, or he had a rifle, and what happened is that he was trying to shoot at the duck, and he dropped the rifle, and on the floor he accidentally stepped on the handle where the bullet is released, and the rifle was directing at his throat, and he instantly died. And this is so shocking, because this is karma playing towards the family members. There were a lot of stories about my ex-boss, that has happened. That's not good. So she thought that she could get away with so many things, and then finally this happened. So I really felt sorry for her, and I didn't stay on this job for too long because I think my time was up anyway. So not long after that, I left the company. But before that, we had kind of come to a stage where we forgive ourselves and forgive the other person. And she was very, very nice towards me. And I think somehow Spirit has played a part in giving us both these karmic lessons. So my second story is another work associate. And I was working for a side business, and this lady, she works for this company where I promote the business. And out of that part, I was always, at that time, I was lacking in, I had a lack mentality of money. So, and she was marketing a company, and she said, oh, sign up with this company. And I spent a couple of $1,000 on just signing up with the course with that company. But it was in such a hurry that I didn't read the fine print, and that was my fault. But at the same time, she could have warned me, you know, what the fine print is. And I quickly signed it, not realizing that that's not exactly what I wanted. But this lady didn't help me. She said instead, well, you signed for it and you should have read it, and you know, like, this is really good. But she didn't really help me at all. Like, she could have helped me how to market this, because she was a professional marketer. But instead, she just got a commission out of getting me to sign for this company, and she got her commission. So what she did was, again, saying to me, well, you should have known. So again, some things like gaslighting. Now, these two lessons, one from me, myself, and one from her. My lesson was that I needed to do a lot of research and also think of not only like the money and the lack mentality. So there was an energetic discord there, and hers was also, or at the same time, also her greed as well, but the lack of integrity. And in looking after me, and I kept calling her at the time and saying to her, well, do you think I can get my money back? No, I don't think so. Don't bother. So what comes after that was that immediately, well, not immediately, not long after that, within 2 weeks, she was rushed to the hospital and she nearly died. She was rushed to the ICU and she had lots of respiratory issues, and her husband, this happened at home, so her husband was trying to resuscitate her, and then eventually the ambulance came. So she was then rushed to the ICU and she had to recover, and she's got something now that is not curable. She had a rare blood disease. So again, there's two issues. One that I had, and I didn't wish upon anything. I actually begged her. I said, look, is there something else that I could do before this happened? Like, as in, I didn't know that this is gonna, obviously I didn't know. But I had a funny inkling. Now, being a collective and an empath, and I mentioned that many times, if you're in this group, you're very highly intuitive. I knew something's bad's gonna happen, but I had no way of controlling it. So she was told that she's diagnosed with this rare blood disease that's not curable, but she's got to have constant medication all throughout her life. and I think she's in her 50s. So it's not something that you want to have because of that. And I mentioned before about Louise Hay, talking about the different diseases and ailments and how it relates to an unresolved issue. So I'm constantly aware that there are things that I need to check within me, with my body, and how I interact with other people. So, okay, so that's the end of that one. And the third one is a recent one. Well, it's with an authority as well as my boss. Again, it's another control issue. So I've been called now to carefully look at why I have control issues or control being exercised on me with my work and even with my family members. So this manager is trying to also control the way I operate, and I also do, like, obviously these readings, but she has no idea that by doing this is clocking up karma. She has an incurable disease called Hashimoto's disorder. It's a thyroid disorder, I think. So she's constantly having medication, and she has a lot of control. She needs to have control over everything when she doesn't need to. And my issue is also allowing these toxic behaviors to happen and continue to stay there. So we're both providing each other lessons, and I am seriously looking at how this has to change. So these karmic consequences can affect, as I said, affecting your family and the closest one to you. So the people that you love, something can happen depending on what's the severity of your actions. Now, if you do good, and obviously I'm talking to the collective here who is very conscious of their spirituality and their actions. So I'm not directing all these issues at you. I'm simply saying to you that you may come across these situations with other people in your life. It could be family members, it could be close friends, it could be anyone that you come across at work. So be aware of it, and every day and constantly just reassess your integrity and your authenticity and how good you can do and serve the world. And karma will hunt for those accordingly. So as he said, everything gets recorded. So if you do good, it doesn't mean that you get unnoticed. If you do bad, you can't get away with it either. So somehow you're going to pay karmic actions throughout your life. I'm going to post out the map of consciousness with all the different emotions, so please print it out or have it somewhere where you can start to recognize the levels. And it's really important that at every given stage how you're interacting and what your energy level is and what the others are. And if you're constantly surrounded by people that offer different energy to you and a very low one, you will need to work on how to distance yourself as much as you can, because it's time for us to also evolve in this world. There's too many people on earth that are going backwards, and that's why we are surrounded by these people, and the collective is being scattered throughout the earth, and we are being divided into these situations. And that's why you feel lonely, because you're not meant to be the same you're not meant to be in the same vibe as them. You're meant to go through all these lessons and being trained to go through them. And if you can continue to do your spiritual practice and your spiritual cleansing every day, that would be really of benefit to you. And also you can maybe break the karmic cycles, because there's a lot of families where you might be chosen to break the cycle and break what they call karmic curse, because bad things happen because somebody in the previous reincarnation has done something. So you might be called to pay the debts for them. So I hope this works for you, as in recognizing the different energetic signatures that you are having and how other people are playing out. And I will be doing a lot more in future, because it's really important for us to understand how this works and how to clear out all the different low vibe energy and all the habits that we've had, the mindsets that we had that don't serve us, and in some ways the people. Don't get me wrong, I don't condone people that just ghost other people and get away from people for no reason. These are people that I mentioned that have either harmed you and caused you trauma and are not doing you any justice by you being there. You can love family members from afar, but there might be times where you cannot leave from some of them. Possibly maybe an elderly, you can't maybe leave them even though they've done some wrong things by you. Now I hope this works out. If I'd like to get some feedback from you, whether this helps you a lot. And later on I'll be doing a lot more extended readings on Vimeo, and I'll post this out for you. Okay, so I love you all, and I will be talking to you soon. Thanks for watching.